Hi everybody. We are going to be reading a book. It is called The Three Little Javelinas. It's also in Spanish, but my Spanish is not great, so I'm just going to be reading the English part today. The Three Little Javelinas. This is the front of the book. This is the back of the book. This is the spine. And the author of this book is Susan Lowell. She's the one who wrote the book. And then it was illustrated, or the pictures were drawn by Jim Harris. Once upon a time, out in the desert, there were three little javelinas. Javelinas are wild, hairy, southwestern cousin of pigs. Their heads were hairy, their backs were hairy, and their bony legs, all the way down to their hard little hooves, were very hairy. Their snouts were soft and pink. One day, the three little javelinas trotted away to seek their fortunes. In this hot, dry land, the sky was almost always blue. Steep purple mountains looked down in the desert where the cactus forest grew. Soon, the little javelinas came to a spot where the path divided, and each one went a different way. The first little javelina wandered lazily along. He didn't see a dust storm whirling across the desert until it caught him. The whirlwind blew away and left the first little javelina sitting on a heap of tumbleweeds. Brushing himself off, he said, "I'll build a house with him." So there he is, getting caught up in the dust storm. And then he was stuck with a bunch of tumbleweeds, so he made a house out of tumbleweeds. And it says, number 1 Tumbleweed Ave. That's his address. Then along came a coyote. He ran the desert. He ran through the desert so quickly and so quietly that he was almost invisible. In fact, this was only one of Coyote's very magical tricks. He laughed when he saw the tumbleweed house and smelled the javelina inside. A tender, juicy piggy, he thought. Coyote was tired of eating mice and rabbits. There's Coyote right there, and there's the little house. He called out sweetly, little pig, let me come in." "Not by the hair of my chinny chin chin," shouted the first little javelina, who had a lot of hair on his chinny chin chin. "Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in," said Coyote. Oh, you see him blowing? What do you think's gonna happen? And he huffed, and he puffed, and he blew the little tumbleweed house away. But in the hullabaloo, the first little javelina escaped and went looking for his brother and sister. Coyote, who was very sneaky, tiptoed behind. The second little javelina walked for miles among giant cactus plants called saguaros. They held their ripe red fruit in the sky, but they made almost no shade, and the little javelina grew hot. Then he came upon a Native American woman who was gathering sticks from inside a dried up cactus. She planned to use these long sticks, called saguaro ribs, to knock down the sweet cactus fruit. The second little javelina said, "Please, may I have some sticks to build a house?" "How," she said, which means yes in the language of the desert people. She's getting the sticks. Oh, he looked so hot. What do you think? Do you think he's going to build a big house or a little house with his sticks? Maybe a big house? Let's see. Oh, when he was finished building his house of sticks, he lay down in the shade. Then his brother arrived, panting from the heat. The second little javelina moved over and made a place for him. Oh, they're sleeping together in the shade. What do you think is going to happen next? Pretty soon, Coyote found the saguaro rib house. He used his magic to make his voice sound just like another javelina's. Little pig, let me come in, he called. But the little javelinas were suspicious. The second one cried, no, not by the hair of my chinny chin chin. Bah, thought Coyote, I am not going to eat your hair. Then Coyote smiled, showing all his sharp teeth. I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in. So he huffed, and he puffed, and all the saguaro ribs came tumbling down. But the two little javelinas escaped into the desert. Still, not discouraged, Coyote followed. Sometimes his magic did fail, but then he usually came up with another trick. So they're running away. The third little javelina trotted through the beautiful palo verde trees with green trunks and yellow flowers. She saw a snake sliding by, smooth as oil. A hawk floated around and round above her. Then she came to a place where a man was making adobe, bricks from mud and straw. The bricks lay on the ground, baking in the hot sun. The third little javelina thought for a moment and said, May I please have a few adobes to build a house? Sí, answered the man, which means yes in Spanish. A brickmaker's language. The brickmaker's language. So the third little javelina built herself a little adobe house, cool in the summer and warm in the winter. When her brothers found her, she welcomed them in and locked the door behind him. Coyote followed their trail. Let me see if I missed one. Nope. Little pig, let me in, he called. The three little javelinas looked out the window. This time, Coyote pretended to be very old and weak, and no teeth and a sore paw. But they were not fooled. No, not by the hair of our chinny chin chin, called back the third little javelina. Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in, said Coyote. He grinned, thinking of the wild pig dinner to come. Just try it, shouted the third little javelina. So Coyote huffed and puffed, but the adobe bricks did not budge. Again, Coyote tried, I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in. The three little javelinas covered their hairy ears, but nothing happened. The javelinas peeked out the window. The tip of Coyote's raggedy tail whisked right past their noses. He was climbing up on the tin roof. Next, Coyote used his magic to make himself very skinny. The stovepipe, gasped the little javelina. Quickly, she lighted a fire inside her wood stove. What a feast it will be, Coyote said to himself. He squeezed into the stovepipe. I think I'll eat them with red-hot chili sauce. Whoosh! Sizzle. What's going to happen when the Coyote goes down the stovepipe into the wood wood stove? Then the three javelinas heard an amazing noise. It was not a bark. It was not a cackle. It was not a scream. It was not a howl. It was all those sounds together. Yip, 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 yee-oo! Away ran a puff of smoke shaped like a coyote. So they're looking out the window and they see Coyote run away. The three little javelinas lived happily ever after in the adobe house. And if you ever hear a coyote's voice way out in the desert at night, well, you know what he's remembering. The end. Now, did that story sound a little like another story that you know? Did it sound kind of like The Three Little Pigs? It did sound a lot like The Three Little Pigs. It had some things that were the same, some things that were the same, and then some things that were different. So you can make up stories or take stories that you know and change them a little bit. And sometimes when stories are told by mouth and not in books like they were before people had a lot of books, sometimes stories got changed around a little bit. And I think that's what happened with the three little javelinas. What do you think? I can't wait to see you all. And I hope that you take your own version of the Three Little Pigs and tell it to your families. Bye.